Hello everybody, and welcome to another Fundamental Games game playthrough. Today we're going to show you Micro Dojo. Micro Dojo is a two-player micro game. If we read here, you're one of two daimyo, feudal lords of Edo, Japan, tasked by the shogun to bring prosperity to a small town. We have to carefully maneuver the town's retainers to gather resources, build buildings, and complete the shogun's tasks, and win favor. And so we're going to do this with two characters. We're going to play with, let's just throw some text up here. Maybe we'll change the color to black. All right. So we're going to play on this side with, let's say, Aiko. And then on this side, we're going to play with Zen. Zen. Okay, Aiko and Zen will be the two players here. Aiko will be green. Zen will be blue. Aiko is going to play first, so that means Zen gets this special token. All right, so let's read a little bit more about it. What's going to happen? The most prosperous daimyo will be granted the title to the town. Step number 1, place the 4 meeple tokens randomly in the corners of the board. So here they were randomly placed by pressing this basic setup button, is what I'd already done. But they might be in different positions on the board because they are random. I think you can't flip them over, but you can randomly place them. All right. Then we select 5 random objective tokens. There you go. We've got some new random objective tokens up top, and we've got our buildings on the bottom. So we have here buildings which you can acquire, food, gold, the points or the favor, I guess, if you will, the objectives, and then our tokens. Actually, if you were to get this on Kickstarter, it all comes on one single punch board that's mailed in a letter envelope. You punch these all out and you have a game. It's that simple. Okay, how do you play? Well, each turn a player is going to get to move one of these 4 characters. What do these characters have a name? Let's see, a meeple. So it says meeple, but they are just cardboard tokens in the game. So you get to move one character. So let's say I'm Aiko. As my first move, I'm going to try moving this ninja up here. When I move it, I get the benefits of that tile that I cover up. So I'm going to get 2 food. 2 food for Aiko, and then Aiko has to put their daimyo token on top of that ninja, or that token. Their turn is over. If we go over to Zen's turn, they cannot move anything covered up by a daimyo token. They do have this special one-time use. If they use that, then they could remove this daimyo. So that's the benefit of going second, is you have that one-time use that you can use only one time in the entire game. So I'm not going to do that now because there's plenty of other options. We're going to use this guy here to cover up these 2 to get 2 coins. So Zen now has 2 coins. Now the objective of the game, by the way, is to be the first to 7 points. And you're going to see me gain that in different ways. But then I have to put Zen's token here. So Zen's turn is now over. And we go over back to Aiko's turn. Now Aiko can now move only one of these 2. This one cannot move, so his only option is to move this one. If we move to the food, we would get 1 food. If we move down, we get 2 actions. That's what the A stands for. Now actions can be used for buildings that you've already acquired that have the letter A. So that one there, for example. Actually, I'm just going to delete these ones underneath. There were 12, but accidentally doubled them up when I did the setup there. So there we go. You only get 6 per game, which means each game will play slightly different because you have a different assortment of buildings each time. Okay, so if we use an action, on the bottom right of this rule book, you can see I can either A, trigger an objective. Objectives are at the top of the screen here. This objective means whoever has the most money and food would gain that objective and earn a point. This one, whoever has the most food would gain that objective and earn a point. This one, whoever has the most money. And you can only acquire objectives from left to right, so you can't get the 3-point objective until all the other objectives have been gained. So that's one of the first actions, is you can trigger an objective. So you'd only want to do that if you're going to trigger it in your favor, unless you really want the second objective and you give your opponent the first one. Next, you can activate a building. So again, if you have a building with an A on it, you could activate it. There's only one building with an A on it in this setup. You could trade 2 of any goods for 1, so I could trade 2 rice for 1 money, or I could spend 5 money or 5 rice, or 5 food, to gain 1 victory point. That's it. That's what you can do with the A's. So my only option right now is to take 1 rice or take 2 A's. Now I don't want to trigger the objective, I don't think, because we're tied for money and food, so that wouldn't help. And so I'm just going to go for the 1 thing of rice, and then I move my daimyo token over here. So Aiko's token is now there, and gain 1 rice. If you ever have 3, because there's a limit of 13, I'll take 3. The maximum any player can have is 7, I believe. If we check here, up to a maximum of 7 each. So you can never have more than 7 rice or 7 gold. You can't hoard it all, but there is a finite amount. So if you have 7, your opponent could only possibly get 6. All right, we're going to go back to Zen's turn. Zen is blue, so Zen can't move those 2, but he can move this one or this one. We can either go for double A, get a building, get 2 money. In order to acquire a building, you have to pay the resources shown on the bottom of the building, so it's not like they're free. And right now I couldn't afford any of those buildings, so going down for a building is not a good option, which gives me the opportunity to get that or money. We're going to go this way and get money. Remember that Zen is Zen is blue, so we're going to put that there. And then Zen will gain 2 money. So we'll take a 3 and put back a 1. All right. Now we're going to go back to Aiko, the blue player's turn. Oh, sorry, the green player's turn. I think I'm getting mixed up here. So Aiko, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to copy these tokens just so I can't forget the colors. Okay. So Aiko is green. Aiko can move this over this. Aiko could buy a building for 3 rice. There's no building for 3 rice, so we're going to move Aiko here, and he can acquire a food or a coin or a rice and then get a building. So we're going to acquire a coin. Now we have 3 rice and a coin. Now I can afford the gold mine. So we're going to take all that, put that back into the resource pile, and now Aiko owns the gold mine. What does the gold mine do? Well, if we check here, the gold mine says gain 1 extra gold on any space that grants gold. So for the rest of the game, as long as I keep this gold mine, I'll get extra money. We now go to Zen's turn. Zen sees an opportunity. Oh wait, first Aiko's token has to move here because we took that building. Okay, so now it's Zen's turn. Zen could get a few actions, could get a building. So Zen sees an opportunity. He's got the most money, and Aiko doesn't. So he's going to slip over here and trigger the first objective as an action. And the way that one reads, again, in the rulebook, you can see here, the one with the 2 icons says the player with the highest total cost of buildings. Wait a second, we don't want to trigger that. I misread that one. That would be to Aiko's benefit. So instead, we will go down and get a building. And we actually can't afford a building because all of them need at least some rice, and we don't have any rice. So Zen is getting a little worried here. We're going to take 1 rice, 1 money, and just call it a day. Put that blue token on here, and now it's back to Aiko's turn. Aiko is now very fond of money because every tile gives him free money if he acquires money. And then he's got a building. So Aiko could actually take advantage of that. Aiko will go hither and will trigger this objective. It'll flip over, and because he has the most buildings, he's going to gain a point. So Aiko is green. He goes onto the 1 point marker. Then puts his daimyo token on there. Now it is Zen's turn. Zen has lots of resources, no buildings, but the building thing's already gone. But there is an opportunity to get this. If we go here, we can trigger this objective and earn the one with the most rice, which Zen has. So now they're at 1 point. We go back to Aiko. Aiko has no resources. where is Aiko going to go? Well, Aiko can't afford a building. Can only buy 1 coin there. So Aiko will go and get some rice. 2 rice. 1, 2. That way, that'll set him up to be... doesn't help him with the objective, but he went there anyway. Alright, Aiko puts their token there because they got 2 rice, so now it's back to Zen. Zen can go in any of these 4 positions. You can never move diagonal, by the way, as if you might have been thinking that. Don't have any buildings, so don't, but we do have lots of resources. Now, what do the stables do? Stables spend a food to move an additional space during the move step. Oh, that's interesting. We can't acquire a building anyway, so let's go here, because we want to avoid our opponent from getting money if we can. How can we do that? We can't really prevent our opponent from getting money. Let's move this one here. Get 2 actions. We're going to use the first action to trigger this objective. Whoever has the most money gets a point, which means Zen gets a point for that one. Actually, 2 points. That one's worth 2. Then for the second action, you can only score 1 objective per turn, so we can't trigger the next objective. The next objective, by the way, says rice over food, food over money, and food over money represents peasants, the player with the highest total of food minus gold. So you know what, we're going to play strategically here, and as a second action, we are going to trade in 5 money to donate to get another point. And that way we're going to have the least amount of money and gain another point. There's some strategy for you. Then we'll put our token here, and we'll go back to Aiko's turn. Aiko's a little frustrated. He sees Zen far in the lead here, and he can't even trigger the next objective because we have more rice than Zen. So, what are we going to do about it? Let's try this. We're going to move this here. We're going to acquire 1 coin, and because we're getting a coin, we get a bonus coin. And then we can purchase or sell a building. If you purchase a building, you have to pay the cost. If you sell a building, you get rid of it and get a point. You basically flip it over for the gold mine. So we are going to stables lets you, let's spend 1 this and 1 of this and 1 of this to get the guardhouse. That way we have the same amount of food as Zen, so Zen can't trigger that objective. Now we have the guardhouse. The guardhouse will say spend 2 gold to place the guardhouse on an empty space. So this lets you kind of block an area on the board, which is kind of neat. We'll put our token here because here is where we went. Now back to Zen's turn. So Zen could go down, up, down, up. It doesn't make sense to go for the objective right now. And that's the only real action this player could do. Don't want to get another rice. Don't have a building to sell, so let's go up and get 1 whole coin. And then we put our blue token here, and we go back to Aiko's turn. So what can Aiko do? Well, Aiko, let's see, how does that read again? The player with the highest total of food minus gold. So Zen would have the advantage here because you take 1 food minus gold is 0, whereas I could be left with 1. So going for the objective doesn't work. So we could go for rice or money. Really our only 2 options. So let's go for... we could place a building. Where does it say guardhouse? Spend 2 gold to place the guardhouse on an empty space. We don't have 2 gold, so we're just going to go here and acquire 2 money. Now, one question I'm not sure about is, I can spend the 2 gold, and it says return it at your next turn. No, we're not going to bother. We'll just keep that, put our green token up here, and switch over to Zen. What does Zen want to do? Well, now they can take an opportunity. But, peasant minus gold. Peasant. The player with the highest total of food minus gold. So 1 minus 2 can't be below 0 would be 0. 1 minus 1 is 0, so we won't benefit from that. Now we could remove a daimyo token to be able to move anything. Get some extra rice. We won't do that though, will we? It says here, once per game, the player with influence token may discard it from the game to remove a daimyo marker. So we can remove our own using this, and now we can move this down here to acquire 2 rice, and we put our daimyo token back on. All right, back to Aiko's turn. Aiko sees an opportunity here. 1 minus 2 is 0, 3 minus 1 is 2, so we're going to jump in and try to take those points. We're going to do 2 actions here. We're going to move this meeple here. For our first action, we're going to trigger this, and when we trigger this, whoever has the most rice minus food, the player with the highest total of food minus gold. So 1 minus 2, no, that doesn't work. Move back, retreat. We will go here, and we're going to sell a building for 1 point. That's what we'll do. Aiko doesn't know if that was the best move, but he's flustered. Zen sees an opportunity now and does exactly what Aiko was going to do. So 3 minus 1 is 2. 1 minus 2 is 0. So Zen has the opportunity to win this and gains 2 points immediately. For their second action, they could trade 2 for 1. Or activate a building. Can't do either of those, or don't want to do either of those things. So Zen is done. Puts her token here. Aiko is way behind. Hasn't played very well at all. But you know what? He's going to try something. He'll go here, gain a coin, and sell this house for another point. And put their token here. We're going to go back to Zen. Zen can't get the rice that he wanted because that move is not available. This final action says the player with the highest total of gold minus food. So that would actually be Aiko, so that doesn't benefit him. But he could take the action just to block his opponent from taking the action, because that's 3 points they would get. Now if he went there, there's nothing he could do with that action, so it doesn't really make sense. Oy. Rock and hard place. He will go. He's going to try to get his last bit of points by acquiring rice. So let's go here. Get 1 rice. So we'll trade in 1, 2 for a 3. There we go. Moves a blue token here. We go back to Aiko's turn. Now Aiko can jump on that opportunity. Jumps down here and triggers this objective, whoever has the most money minus rice. So 3 minus 1 is 2, 1 minus 2 is 0. So this 3 points goes to 1, 2, 3 to Aiko. So if we read what happens here, well, how does the game end? Winning the game. At the game end, the player who has the most points wins. In the event of a tie, if the second player has not spent the influence token, they're the winner. If it's still a tie, the player with the most total resources is the winner. And the game ends when a player reaches 7 points or the final objective is scored. We've just scored the final objective, and we're tied, and the resource token was used. So who's going to win? 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even with that strategic move, Zen is the winner. Aiko could not recover. So there you have it. That is how you play a game of Micro Dojo. Now you can see here there's a lot of options in the game. You can always pick which tiles to go to, whether you want to go for buildings or earn coins or try to just trade in and barter for resources. I never did block with the guardhouse, but that would have been an option. So all kinds of different things. And the cool thing is, like I showed you before, I deleted them already, but there's 6 more buildings to choose from. And there's 4 more objectives to choose from. And so every game is going to be different because you're going to randomly pull from those. So I really like how simple and straightforward it was that they put together this game, and just how they're able to mass produce it. They actually have over 1,200 backers and $14,000 raised on this Kickstarter for this micro game that comes on a single punch board. And I think that's really impressive and inspirational for anybody who's into game design. I would highly recommend using this as an example of what a good, elegant, and fun game design is. The arts and graphics are very straightforward, but they do the job. Their rulebook, really easy to understand, and on 2 pages. And this also includes an advanced game mode where you can give each of these meeples a special power. So the ninja could have a power, the samurai could have a power. You can see there. So that's pretty cool that you can introduce that as an alternative. Meeples having a cost to introduce a different game mode. Anyway, I keep rambling on. This has been Micro Dojo, produced by Prometheus Game Labs is the name of their company. This is their very first Kickstarter, and I think it's just going fantastic. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.